As far as 2023 in a recap goes, this is a lot of information. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Closing with Cory podcast. I hope everyone had a great holiday season. I hope everyone is having a good time going into the new year. A lot to go over. I'm not going to, waste too much time on certain figures and numbers, but there is a decent amount of stuff that I wanted to go over today. First things first, obviously, I want to start off by saying thank you to everybody. Number one, who is involved on this podcast on a weekly and a monthly basis, from everyone behind the scenes and Ben and MediaX Marketing and Joey to everybody who has just been giving me feedback and listening to it and asking questions, along with the guests and stuff that I've had this year. So I appreciate you guys so much. Going into next year, I definitely am going to incorporate more guests onto the show. A lot of people have reached out with different ideas, whether it's designers or other real estate agents, and they love the previous episodes with buyers and sellers and just being able to have like a hands-on first-person experience. So a lot more of that to expect with a whole bunch of other stuff going into next year. So that's the first thing. I listened to a bunch of my previous episodes, but I listened to the first episode going into 2023, and I made some predictions and I made some comments as far as how I thought that the market was going to go. I was pretty much spot on as far as the prediction for the market, but I was pretty much way off when it came down to my own personal goals, my goals as far as work related, life related, a lot of things that I've learned this year going into next year. And, real estate is a performance-based job, no matter which way you look at it. You have to put the work in to be able to see any type of success, to be able to see any type of progress. So when certain things happen that impact your ability to do that, I look at that as a personal thing. So I'm looking at the idea as far as like I cannot predict, or I cannot control the way that the market is shifting. I can't control the way that the rates are going up and down. I can't control different things, economical or political, that are affecting the actual market. I can just shift and make whatever is happening work in the best of my ability, and that's kind of my goal going into next year. I've had some conversations with some people that I have a ton of respect for, that are mentors to me, great friends to me, and that mindset of going into next year with a optimistic outlook, but a much more realistic outlook, to not try to set these expectations that are just unable to be obtained. So I've learned that from this past year. I've learned what was going on and what I need to do differently, but more importantly, just what I need to focus on. And that's just what I'm doing and trying to do what I can do to the best of my ability. Speaking of failures, I don't want to speak too much and talk myself down too much, but a third of the offers that I placed in this past year were accepted. So over 60% of the offers that I placed were rejected. So that comes into obviously price points and the strength of buyers and all those things. But instead of looking at it that way, I'm much more focused on that 1 out of every 3 offers that I placed that was accepted, and what I did right in that sense, what kind of conversations with the other agent that I had, what kind of information I obtained to be able to present the best possible offer. So there's always a way of looking at things in a more positive light, and that's exactly what I'm doing going into 2024. As far as 2023 in a recap goes, this is a lot of information. Prices were supposed to go down. That was a huge thing that you heard towards the end of last year, where it was like, buy a home now, the prices are going to be going down, and it put a lot of fear into a lot of people's eyes, because they were like, well, we bought on the bubble, this, the bubble that. Prices did not go down this past year. Over the past 3 years, the home sales and the prices have increased by 37%. They were predicted to drop 5% this year, and they actually wound up going up around 7%. So again, the fear-driven media and the fear-driven information that everybody gets, and I'm subject to that as well too, because I even got nervous. A lot of people were saying, this is what's going to happen, the market's going to crash, everything is going to change, and everything did change, but it changed in a sense to where it wasn't anything as far as what any of these people were predicting. It was more so a changing. Every month it was something different, and they had a prediction, and they were pretty much extremely wrong with their predictions. Compared to 2022 for 2023, home sales are down 20.5% this year. So inventory was a huge, huge factor of 2023. Probably, in my opinion, probably one of the biggest things to impact the market itself. There just was not enough homes to be sold. Now, one of the most important things I had written down on here was that a lot of the conversations that I had with some of my potential sellers was that, okay, I want to either upsize my house, or I want to be in a different location, or I want this or I want that, but am I going to want to sell my house when I have a 2.9 rate, a 2.75 rate, a 3.1 rate? Am I going to want to sell? Yes, I'll get a great return on this home, but then I'm going to be right back into that pool of buyers now when the rate is doubled and the affordability-wise and trying to go up against all these other buyers. So inventory was the main key that drove the way that this market kind of maneuvered over the past year. I think going into, we'll talk about 2024 toward the end. But again, home sales are down 20.5% from 2022. Inventory went down, obviously. The number of homes that have sold in New Jersey was down 17%. All of these numbers are bad. No way to kind of put it. The information that I'm providing is just the realistic information to understand what happened this year and try to take that information and make the best prediction as far as what's going to happen next year. Low inventory, low sales. Going back onto the fact that the prices went up, the median sale price for New Jersey is up 9.8%. Related to obviously the values going up. So even with inventory going down, even with sales going down, even with all these numbers showing a very, very steep line on a downward spiral, the values of the homes still continued to go up. So that's really 2023 in a nutshell, is that the inventory was down. The buyers started to fizzle out little by little just based off of the rates. Can't blame them because the affordability-wise at a 3% rate compared to all the way up to the 8s. I understand why buyers are going to not want to not only buy a home at that time, but also see the numbers compared to what they were and become very, very discouraged. That is where information comes into play. I think my first 5 or 6 podcasts that I did talked about teamwork, talked about having the right lender, having the right real estate agent, having the right team backing you going into buying a home. That's going to be consistent. I don't want to sound like a broken record. Obviously, you need to work with people that you trust, and you need to work with people that are going to educate you the best they possibly can on the current market conditions, along with what's going to be your best interest in the long run. Some highs and lows from this past year. I mean, I think that I am very grateful for every person that I worked with, every conversation that I had. I'm not going to lie, it was a very tough year, regardless of the way to spin it. This year, for me personally, was a tough year. When it comes down to work was something that I take very, very seriously. Coming off of the high of 2022 and obviously 2021, going into this year, it was a big, big adjustment. That's why you saw a lot of agents that got into the business quickly also got out of the business, and I can't blame them as well too, because it wasn't as quote-unquote easy as it was in the previous years. You had to do a little bit of work. Homes were being on the were staying on the market a little bit longer. The sales prices were having to be, price cuts became a thing again towards the end of 2023. Negotiations became a thing again. It's crazy. The last 6 deals that I did on the buying side, we were able to negotiate nothing crazy, but we were able to negotiate the price of the home along with the terms. It wasn't, we're waiving this, we're waiving that, we're signing off on everything. There's a lot more of a conversation now that's being had. Now, going into next year, we'll kind of see what happens. But that was one thing from this past year that was a huge, huge adjustment for me. On the selling side, it probably took about 6 to 7 to 8 months for these sellers to finally come down to more of a realistic understanding of what the market is. And you didn't have a huge 30-person line for the open house. Every once in a while you definitely did, but you didn't have a huge line for the open house. You didn't have 25 offers within the first 2 hours of being listed. Sellers saw the shift in the market as well in real time. So they were able to look at the market and they were able to see their home. And instead of saying, hey, why is my home not selling so quickly, they were understanding and they were seeing the differences that were taking place last year. But I am optimistic and I am excited about 2024. 2024, they start to mention about the rate cuts, and they start to mention about the idea that the inventory is going to be shifted. That's something that I'm not going to harp on because, as I said before, they were completely wrong when it came down to their predictions for this past year. I do know that I put a note on here that new construction has a small uptick into 2023, which I don't think that's going to really affect things too much. I think that the supply and demand for that went down just because of how expensive it became to buy wood, to buy materials, to buy everything that you needed to do in order to build a home. So it didn't go down, which is good. So it just went up a tiny bit. A fun fact here for all of my investors and all the people that want to own multifamily homes and the people that reach out to me. The multifamily homes new construction decreased by 41% from last year, which is a insane number. I think, again, same thing as far as supply and demand. I think the same thing as far as investors being smart with their money as far as where they're going to invest it, how they're going to put it, where their return is going to be. Are they going to want to put in an obscene amount of money to buy this building and to build this building when that return on investment is not going to happen for quite some time? But with that as well, too, the rent is also up 7.5% year to date. So you see these similarities in the sense of inventory. Same thing when it comes down to rental that's going to be available. That's up a little bit. The sales price is still up a little bit. So that demand is still going to be there. The inventory is still going to be decreased. I'm not telling anybody anything that they probably don't already know. That's why I didn't want to waste too much time on like this end of the year stats. What you see is what you get, and a lot of people. It's funny. A lot of people will come up to me with the information and just say, "Hey, I'm seeing this house, and it's been sitting here for 2 months, for 3 months," and I'm like, "Yeah, we're back into that environment where." These homes, and depending on the price point, depending on how they're marketed, presented, we'll definitely see that. 2024, a couple last things as far as any personal goals and stuff. I want to be able to help out as many people as I possibly can. That's never going to change. It's always going to be consistent. I'm working on my brand. I'm working on my presence as far as being somebody that is going to be able to educate people, being someone that people will be comfortable in having those conversations with. All those things remain the same. I want to be able to just provide the best possible content, provide the best service as well, too. That's been something that has been pretty consistent as my goals throughout the last year. And really, lastly, as far as highlight-wise, I think that for myself, it's been being able to develop a system, develop a work-life balance, develop a system for my clients. These last 3 years, I was very, very kind of honed in on the idea of, okay, from start to finish, what is the best possible service and information that I can provide to be able to have their experience be the best. There's going to be things that happen. There's going to be hiccups. There's going to be road bumps. But I wanted to be as prepared as possible to be able to provide that ultimate experience. And I think leading into 2024, with a couple of tweaks here and there, I think that I finally have a great system into place. So I'm excited to start implementing that and to start utilizing that going into this next year. For everybody who has any goals for 2024 to become a homeowner, if they're looking to sell, if they're looking to invest, whatever the case may be, as always, obviously reach out. I'm going to, as I said before, I'm going to continue this podcast into next year, be a lot more consistent. I was a little bit, the consistency was a little bit of a factor this past year, but I'm confident with the scheduling going into next year, it'll be a lot more consistent, guest-wise, just a lot of fun stuff to be able to put out there and kind of see who connects with it. So if you have any questions, as always, reach out to me. If you are looking for your own personal goals into next year and it has anything to do with real estate, let's have a conversation. Let's kind of go through the motions and just get you kind of primed as far as what to expect for 2024. And if not, still, I hope the best for everybody that I worked with this year and in previous years. Thank you guys so much for your trust. I'm truly grateful for it. So I hope everybody enjoyed this year. I know that this year has been one hell of a ride. So Have a happy New Year. As always, subscribe to the podcast. Any comments, anything that you guys want to hear going into next year, reach out to me, let me know, and we'll make it happen. So hope you guys have an amazing New Year. Thanks for watching.